Hey, welcome back to Articulate. How you doing this week? Doing all right? Good to hear. Yeah, this week we got Maddie Smith. Of course, it's just the natural progression here, folks. If you can't see the pattern, that's what we're doing. I was so happy when I asked Maddie to come do this, and she was like, well, I can either talk about YouTube and like branding and stuff, or stand-up comedy. And, you know, obviously, stand-up holds a very, very special place in my heart. So, yeah, it's a great conversation, and it's more about, it's not necessarily about, like, the industry of stand-up comedy, necessarily. It's just about, you know, the art of it, and a little bit of the history, and, like, just breaking it down to what stand-up is at its core, and what it means to us as people. So, again, this is a very dear topic to my heart, and Maddie was a great person to talk about it with, because we are both insane people when we're together. And you can definitely tell right off the bat when we start. So, yeah, it's a fun one. I hope you enjoy. Thanks. Good.
Joke's on you.
I am a sexual predator.
Oh. Well, let's get into the news.
Yeah, welcome, Maddie Smith. Hey, thanks for coming out.
Hello, yay!
Today.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Chris Thiele's pedophile. I don't know if you knew
Dude.
that. His jokes are funny, but
they're very funny.
Pedophile.
And I appreciate what he's done for podcasting. However,
what did he do for podcasting?
I think he helped popularize like the solo podcasting moment a little bit. I think
Mark Maron definitely did that.
That's
for
true,
sure.
Actually, that's
what
true.
he's
and
like.
Theo's done a great job with that as well.
Really?
So
see, that's like a whole comedian troupe that I'm not like familiar with. I feel like they're kind of there's like there's like Bert Kreischer and like Bert Crystal, Tom Segura, and like
Joe,
Ari,
of course,
Joe. They're like a group, and then there's like those like Theo, and I feel like Chris. I don't even know if they're friends, but I feel like they're on the same type of level.
They are on the same level. They get compared a lot, actually. I think much to their dismay, because I honestly don't think that they fuck with each other like that. Yeah, even Theo.
Theo Vaughn. I don't know if you said his name.
Theo Vaughn. He I did really like his response. He's like, first of all, can we just talk about how hard this has to be for the girls coming out with this shit? Like, it's hard at any time that you're doing this, but he's like, I think we're not really given enough credit where credit's due in terms of like people starting to speak out with Chris, and it's hard too, because like there is nuance in those. First of all, let me state out the gate, I am in no way like a Chris D'Elia apologist.
Yeah,
because
oh, fuck that guy.
I think my interpretation from just trying to gather like what the claims have been, and then also what his receipts of sorts have been, because there were some conversations released of like girls saying like, okay, this is a conversation we had, I was underage, XYZ, and this was like before a show or after a show or whatever. It was met with things from, I wouldn't even say Chris D'Elia's team, because everyone has dropped him, but Chris D'Elia just giving actual context to the emails and saying like, oh, well, this girl reached out first, or she did confirm she was 18, or XYZ. So I think it comes down to, it's probably less of a legality issue and more of an ethical issue.
Yeah, like the Louis C.K. thing. Yeah. And unfortunately, he's like one of my favorite comedians.
I know.
And I mean, it's still, we've talked about this. I mean, personally, I've talked about this on a lot of the podcasts that I do. It's the line of where morality is, and like separating. It's like, are you allowed to do that? Whatever. Yeah. Check out the one with Logan Marshall if you haven't. But we stand exactly. We have to. But yeah, so I mean, I don't really want to get into it like the whole.
Yeah, we don't.
Like that Chris D'Elia, his voices in that one bit that we do. Kudos! Gang. It's funny, and you and I are gonna do that for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're always gonna like, after we do it, just look off into the distance of like sadness. Yeah.
No, yeah, actually, Joey
Diaz.
I wish.
Oh, sad.
Joey Coco. Joey Pecker, he called me, and he was like, he was the one to give me the news, because he knew that I was I am to
Big
Chris
fan.
D'Elia as you are to Louis.
Oh, really?
So
Yeah.
he was like, if it was gonna come from anyone, I wanted it to come from.
Oh.
He was like, cause Maddie, it's looking real bad. He
It's
was
looking
like,
real bad.
Yeah, he was like, I don't think this is like 1 or 2 allegations. He's like, this post got released, and he was like, and I don't think he's gonna be back. And I was like, damn. And then I went home. And Olivia was like, did you hear? And I was like, did I hear? And we all talked about it. And
it's so sad.
yeah, it feels shitty because it's like I have like really, I've been going on and off with like the idea of doing my own podcast for a while now, and I have shaped a lot of the ideas off of like what Chris has done in his.
That's
so it's like
interesting.
he's definitely influenced me, but it sucks. And he should be under the scrutiny he is.
Yeah, for sure. And don't have sex with underage kids. It seems like a
seems
like a fair thing
I think-
that we can all agree on. Just don't.
I think with anything, when in doubt, hey, fucking buck up and don't.
Go for cougars, if anything, for sure. They're just as desperate and probably have more money.
Yeah.
And that is also a little
add
sexist.
10 and you can sleep with that person.
Yes.
Add 10 years and then you
Have
go
you heard
sleep
of
with
that?
person.
It's like your age divided by 2 plus 7 is like the threshold of how low you can go. So for somebody that's like 30,
Okay.
15 plus 7, that's
15 plus
22. So if you're 30, you should only go as low as like a 22-year-old.
I wish this was told to my father.
How old are you? Oh no, what's the gap?
My parents met when my mom was the ripe old age of 15 and my father was 26.
Ooh,
Fell in love.
Wow. That's
Fell in love.
intense.
Yeah, my dad hits smack in the middle of my mom's age and my grandparents' age. Yeah, which is crazy. And they fell in love. They were living out of state but met during drag racing. Like, of course.
Yeah.
I am a product of that.
Wow.
And proposed when my mom was 18. Wow, really hit the buzzer on that one.
Well, hey, he waited though.
My mom claims too. She's like, we did not do anything before I was of legal age. And I was like, yeah, all right. Yeah, all right. But yeah, it worked out. I mean, they're still together, 11 and a half years apart.
Yeah,
but...
and you're here now. So
And I'm here.
And then we're here, and we're doing stand-up comedy today. We're talking about stand-up,
Yes.
not
We're doing
about
improv.
allegations.
No,
we're
just-
just riffing. This whole thing.
Yeah,
is,
this whole thing is a riff.
Basically.
Our
but
relationship is a riff.
It's just,
and that was the
in
bane of Miss
space-time
Dooning's
continuous.
existence.
Yes. Yeah. Was that when we formed our relationship?
I think so, yeah.
In
My junior
public
year, your
speaking.
sophomore year. Yeah, public speaking class.
My junior year, because I didn't finish out that semester
it was
in
your
public
junior
speaking.
year?
Yeah, in public
It was
speaking.
my senior. Yeah. Oh, how come? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But yeah,
Dude, Miss Dooning.
Do you want to tell the story?
Sure.
Yeah.
Of like your story?
Yeah, because you
I'll give
always
it from
bring
my
it up.
perspective.
It really hadn't. No, not
Do
that
I always
story.
bring it up?
No. The story of that. The question.
Oh, that's my favorite story.
Yeah, that's the one, because I never even like dwelled on it because I had so much else that happened after
It means more to me than that is one of the like if I were in the LA comedy scene, that would be like I was there. Like when this happened.
Yeah.
That's my No, we just so public speaking, I feel like we had it like early to midday. I think it was like a third period or something.
Yeah, because I got out after fourth bell anyways.
Yeah. And so Steve and I sat next to each other in public speaking, and Kylie was kind of our friend too. Kylie would sit near us, and she would she had the sense of humor in terms of would know when to laugh, but couldn't
keep up. I don't think anybody could keep up with that.
Yeah, we would just start I've never met someone who's has this style sense of humor as I do.
Yeah, no, it made me feel a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, because there's another person. I'm not alone in this one.
Yeah, and we were completely. I think we were unknown to each other.
That's what I'm saying. So it's I knew who some of my friends back in the day had the same sense of humor, but I thought it was a very tight knit, a niche, and it was to meet somebody that we kind of knew each other just through mutual friends, and then to just start riffing that. I was
and
we're both
girl
insane.
And guy in different grades, and never had classes together. It was a weird hold on, we're bonding right now. Yeah, so just to hit on that story real quick, one time, and this is the most Lebanon thing I've ever heard of, but Steve and I were in public speaking, and our teacher, Miss Dooning, she was telling us about the next prompt for like controversial topics.
Right.
So sometimes you would do topics of like, okay, in this public speaking speech, I want everyone to like teach someone about something, or I want us to discuss this topic. This one is like, pick any topic that's controversial, except it's not allowed to really be controversial.
Right, which doesn't make sense in the first place.
It doesn't make sense in the first place. I remember Megan Liebenau, hers was on, it was just basically a pro-birth control speech, and she got points docked off for that. She didn't get a good grade, and it was like, okay, well.
Yeah, I think what I ended up actually doing, I was like, a controversial take that isn't controversial. What do you want people to talk about?
Yeah.
And so what I ended up doing was a speech about making pencils illegal.
Yes.
Because I was like, people don't kill people with pencils.
Yeah.
It was a whole thing.
Yeah, I do remember that. That was well crafted, by the way.
Thank you so
should
much.
recite
That was
that
my
speech
favorite class
sometime.
for sure.
I
have
fun.
it written somewhere for sure. I'll find it and I'll read it at the end of this when I edit this and do it. Like
you should.
An
oh my
outro
god, you
or
should.
An intro or something.
And you know what's funny is I've never seen a speech that I wrote for public speaking. I think I got up there every time and just spoke out of my ass.
Really?
Gave like 47 yes.
Well, they worked.
They worked.
They
I got an A. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're all good. But anyway,
We're here. We're out of high school.
yeah. Graduated. Now they only say congratulations.
Oh Jesus. Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so Miss Dooning said, here's the prompt: controversial topics. Does anyone have any questions on like maybe what the line is, or like any topics of specifics? And Steve, I look over and Steve immediately. I mean, she closes her mouth. Does anyone have any questions of what's too far? Hand raised, but you didn't wait to be called on. You just said it, and you said, "How about OJ didn't do it?" And I fell out. I felt my intestines fell out of my body, and I ascended, because that is my favorite thing. And she was just like, "Yep, there's the line."
Yep, can't do that.
Do it.
Yeah.
And we both, I think, after that, were very like, "If it does not fit, you must acquit."
Well, yeah, it was acquitted. You know, I mean, come on. And
it's American history.
And the reason I blurted it out is because I was known in that class already.
For being
we were known for just like talking already. It was a whole.
True.
So it was like
they did
I saw.
Like us, but
yeah, I was the only one that had my hand up. Who else are you gonna call?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I'm not gonna wait. You know what I mean?
I'm not gonna
wait. We got learning to do, Miss Dooning. Let me learn.
So that turned into this beautiful thing that we have in front of us today.
Yeah.
To talk about stand-up comedy.
Yes.
Today.
Yes.
I did a little bit of research this morning, or really I just listened to like a podcast and watched some YouTube videos on it. Yeah. But so the history behind stand-up comedy. Actually, I mean, it goes back as far as oral stories back in the day of the Roman times and Greek and whatnot, and people just like goofing around and fucking around back then, and just like bards, bards. They have that little thing, and they just like annoy the shit out of people. I don't know what their bits were, but what stand-up comedy really formed from, there's this thing called vaudeville, and it's that's like it's like kind of circusy.
I was about to say very performative,
very performative,
expressive,
and so there would be acts of like juggling and unicycling, and then they would have somebody come up and tell kind of jokes, like it was more along the lines of just stories, or they would juggle and like do funny things, well, like the clown. Have you ever seen Baskets before? It's with Zach Galifianakis on FX. Yeah,
I think I've heard.
And
of him.
he like tries to professionally be a clown. Like he goes to a place in France, a school, to go be a clown, and he fails out of it because he can't speak French. And then he brings out. So it's his life as like wanting to be a clown, and he has this. He's really not funny at all. And
is this fictional or non-fictional?
Yeah, it's fictional for sure.
I didn't know if Zach was like, watch this.
It's actually very artistic. I really like it. You should check it out if you have time.
You said it's on FX?
Yeah, it's on Hulu. If you have Hulu.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't, but my roommate does. So yes, I will be watching it.
So he fails out of that school, but he kind of learns. I don't even remember, but he brings this French girl over, and he's like, I'm a clown, and she's like, you are not a clown. Oh. You are not a clown. And he's like, I am a clown.
I am a clown.
I am a clown. Yeah.
Clown.
But yeah, basically that's where it started, like clowns.
The vaudeville.
The vaudeville and them doing that, and that's kind of, there's these two names, Frank Fay, that come up from there, and his kind of what he started was more of the charming character, and he would come out and actually say like kind of funny stuff and just do
good one-liners.
Yeah, one-liners. Well, and he would bring out a violin. Sorry, and he would like sing. He would or do like a song, and then like at points in the song he would comment on each line. Like it was a beautiful song, and he would do like a funny comment.
He walked so Martin Short could run, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Is that Mr. P? Martin Short is, anyways.
Yes, I think whoever you're thinking. Think like Martin Short.
Pee Wee Sherman. That's who I'm thinking.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Just real quick, Martin Short is not Pee Wee Herman. Anyways.
God, I'm so uneducated on the history of comedy. I just know that I like it now.
Yeah,
so.
well, I mean, this is just like the background. And so around this time was Bob Hope too.
Yeah.
And that's like a big, I don't know anything that he's done really, but you know his name. So he was there, and he did more of like a, I'm in control of the crowd. Like I'm playing y'all to like, laugh at me.
Yeah.
And that's where kind of as opposed to being a character, it was more of like, these are the jokes and you're going to laugh at them, kind of. And so from there, it kind of went into the scene of, there was those people in vaudeville that were kind of northern, but then there was also, around the same time period, the southern kind of come up where it was like, it's not necessarily where Richard Pryor came from, but it was definitely more
what
black.
led to maybe his
it was black focused, southern people talking about like one of his jokes contains one of his characters that he comes back to a lot is a character that was alive during like the transition between slavery and like not slavery. So it was just like so it was basically just like, again, that going back to that oral communication, passing down those stories. And like he's like, yeah, you weren't alive when them plantations were around, were they? And I'm at, it's just, so it's it's just a character kind of thing.
Now that you mention that, I mean, it is crazy because like, I mean, yeah, you can get a lot of really important, I mean, that's what Dave Chapelle does. I mean, he can get a lot of important messages out in that medium just by like, I can get you on my side and can get you like kind of warmed up and like loosened a little bit with comedy, but also I can make statements and we can like have a civil fucking, and like look at these real issues. Now, I mean, I think that dips over into like an area where like some people get up there for like clapter, that kind of thing, and it's more of a speech with funny moments. But
that's where I like the line personally in comedy. So after that like initial kind of like slapstick, there was like Three Stooges during that time period, and that's kind of where like people running around the piano, that kind of was like that was around the time of that vaudeville type thing. And then it gets into this era after World War II of like Richard Pryor and George Carlin, and this is into the 60s a little bit. And Richard Pryor and George Carlin both actually started doing kind of, and Bill Cosby even is they were, it was that clean type of humor where there was no swearing. You'd come out in a suit. Yeah, exactly. And you don't talk about and you don't talk about like real things. You don't talk about, because people come to a place to laugh and not to think about the shit world that we live in. Yeah, exactly. And then apparently Richard Pryor, there was a point in time, I don't know if it was on SNL, but it was around the time that he was on SNL where his mother and father died, like within the span of a year. Whoa. It was a lot. Whoa. And so the first thing he comes on and says is like, what the fuck am I doing? It just like, it like breaks the boundary of him being this clean, breaks that wall. This clean person. And that's when he started really make you think. Real, and that's what George Carlin did too. Again, he was in the suit, and then he was at some point he
that's
stopped.
crazy. I haven't seen any of his stuff obviously from him in a suit, but I hear about him being clean. I'm like, damn, George Carlin. Yeah,
because if you look at any of his stuff, it's just he has his most famous bit is the 7 words you can't say on TV.
I don't know
shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits maybe. Yeah, something like. Well, there's a Blink-182 song that's called Family Reunion, and it uses that that phrase, and they're like, shit, piss, fuck,
Yeah, I was about to say, that's the hook.
Tits, fart, turd, and twat. And so
I love that.
Yeah, those last ones aren't the words, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, to get that all out on there, that's
this is comedy, people.
But so, this is hilarious. He actually makes it funny though, so it's not just him just swearing or whatever, and he talks about why they're not allowed to say them, breaks them down or whatever. But really, what people say about George Carlin and Richard Pryor, and now Dave Chapelle, and mostly those three, but it's philosophers before comedians, and that's what you were talking about a little bit before. It's they talk about the truth, and they talk about the world we live in, like even
I think Christina P. has a great outlook on that as well, because
Tommy Bunn's wife, Tom
Segura's wife, Christina Pajitsky. I really do respect what she does, because she studied philosophy all throughout college and stuff, and obviously didn't go down that route, but does have she's like, we're the observers, and we're supposed to give that, we're that lens of what everyone is thinking and experiencing, and or not everyone, but a group of people, we're seeing these things, whether it's things in the news, whether it's just like your normal everyday observations, and it's like, how do you express that in a way that people not either relate to, or like a perspective of there's a newness to that, or maybe a shock value to that, of like, you've never been exposed to that idea before, or
well, yeah, I mean, one of these comedians back from vaudeville, I think, would just come on stage and read the news and just make a comment on, like, he's like, read a headline and just say, well, that's fucked up or something, and
Seth Meyers.
Yeah, and I mean, that's definitely where the the shows, the late night shows all come from, for sure.
Right. That collective, this is the world we're living in right now.
Yeah.
Feeling.
Yeah, but I mean, not even that, but like I said, philosophers, and George Carlin has a bit literally about time, like about what is now, like just like now, and it's gone, it's like here comes, and there it goes, and that was now, that was it, and so it's like, and he's like, after a while is one of my favorites, or in a jiffy or something, I don't know. So he really does break down, which is what I thought was really interesting about him, is because, of course, being 21 years old and stumbling upon philosophy or whatever and philosophical ideas, you're thinking like, oh, we're the most progressed, we thought of these ideas or whatever, and then you're like, oh yeah, but Socrates was a person, but to think that George Carlin was able to build like a comedic profile based off of talking about philosophy.
A successful,
huge one.
Yeah.
I mean, if you listen to any comedians nowadays, there's like, oh, who are your influences? George Carlin,
there's like a
Richard
select
Pryor.
3 to 5 people. It's like, that's the model. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but, and so personally for me, I know, again, Louis C.K. is a very controversial topic, where's the moral line there, but also about what he did is a little bit questionable. But I personally compare right now Louis C.K. and Dave Chapelle to George Carlin and Pryor. Yeah,
it's racist.
It is very racist, but it's like the two names that I feel personally are
that
influential
reincarnation of some sort of what they were doing,
right?
Kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly, a little bit. Or I mean, not reincarnation, but the progression of it. It's where where it's kind of going. And that's the thing about Louis, is he doesn't necessarily directly talk about philosophical things. Like, I mean, he talks about like things that are in the news and politics and whatnot in a way where it doesn't even feel like he's talking about like politically. He's just kind of like, he's like, abortion, it's either taking shit or killing a baby. He's like, I hate people that say abortion should be legal, safe, and rare. And he's like, well, why rare if it's just shitting, just like shit.
Yeah.
But,
I heard that bit. That's funny.
Yeah. It's in 2017, which I personally recommend that everybody should watch. It's my personal favorite.
Noted.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily like he's taking a stance on abortion, right? He's just kind of viewing both sides of it.
Observational, yeah.
Very observational, and he does that throughout the whole 2017, because he's talking about how 2017, the Christians won because we all track that calendar year before Christ or whatever, or after Christ, I guess. That's where we are. Yeah.
Peace be his name.
Amen. Yeah.
Amen, brother.
En nomine Padre, Filii, Spiritus Sancti. Yeah. But Dave Chapelle, however,
That's an interesting one.
he
Not
dives
that Louis not,
head-
sorry.
Yeah. No, but the way he like directly presents these, you know, he'll do like, he'll talk about the alphabet people, you know, the L's and the G's and the, you know, that's the premise. That's where he's starting you off on.
Right.
And it's like, okay, what is he, you know?
Like, ooh, we're dipping in.
Yeah. And so that's what I was going to say with Richard Pryor, you know, with Richard Pryor and George Carlin, like George Carlin embodies like this asshole type of persona where he's like, you all are some dumb motherfuckers because you accept this world that we live in. Richard Pryor, kind of the same thing, except again more. I think him and Louis kind of are more similar than Carlin and Louis, and Chapelle and Carlin
are more
yeah, because
in terms of maybe delivery.
Delivery and directness about it, I think. But yeah, you know, it's just the philosophy behind it. And that's why personally I like those types of comedians. What are some of your favorites?
Yeah,
because I know you love Chris D'Elia.
I did like the big old Chrissy D there for a long time.
And what would you describe his humor as, or his comedy, like breaking it down?
I liked, you know, I think I really liked his comedy because he's a big laugher on stage. He laughs at his own jokes. He laughs at his own jokes, and his laugh is crazy. And I kind of have one of those things too where I realize, like, when I'm hanging out with a group of friends, I do almost always kind of start taking on the persona of, like, I do want to be the entertainer. I want to be the clown for the evening. Yeah. And my favorite, like, it is if everyone has laughed that night, or like we have laughed, that's a fun time for me. I can look back and be like, okay, that's what I want out of the night. Right. Personally.
All of us to laugh, not just one person to like tell the jokes
And so I think he does a fun thing where finding, I don't know, it's off the cuff. So he'll say something and it feels organic because he laughs at it and then expands on it. And it would make me laugh during his podcast how he would just take a stance, say, bananas are stupid, we should get rid of them. Similar to, like, your pencil idea, like, we should ban pencils. Yeah. And will hardline stick to it and make it funny? And it's so ridiculous that all you can do, it's absurdism.
It's also a big character guy, too.
Yeah, big character guy.
Is another form that, like, I think Robin Williams did really well.
Yes.
And just would
That's a great
sticking
point,
to a character and just, you know, really owning it, you know,
and like will acknowledge, like, I have like a funny face or a funny body and I'm gonna be silly with it. I think it's like I already had that inclination growing up, like being silly in that way, but now to see, like, not only adults doing it, but that's literally the brand for them. I mean, obviously you mentioned Robin Williams now. That's a huge one. Or even like a Martin Short or a Steve Martin.
Well, yeah, exactly. But Steve Martin, he didn't even he did a character on stage, but he wasn't doing lots of characters.
It was more.
It was him making fun of the fact that he was a comedian. He would go up there and be like, and like talk about, he's like, and this next joke, and kind of like go and then play banjo for some reason.
He loves that.
He loves that thing. But I mean, I kind of like it too.
It's different. It's fun.
Well, and music has always been a core component to making people laugh for some reason. Like some of the funniest, you know. What's the big Broadway hit with South Park always has, they used to win Grammys for the music that they did for their shows and movies, and then they came out with the Mormons, you know, the Book of Mormon.
Right, and that's been a huge success, and people swear by, like, oh my god, like, it's super funny, and it's held up as really funny. Right. I mean, I guess like music and comedy in that regard. I mean, tunes in general like stick really easily. If you connect with something, it's gonna stick with you, whether or not you know. Same thing with like jingles growing up. Like you don't realize you remember something.
I didn't think
get connected for free. Like I know that whole thing. If it comes on, I can sing it, and I don't realize I can sing it. You know
the whole thing. What about the freecreditreport.com? Tell your friends, this is an ad. This whole thing is an ad.
And this podcast is sponsored by.
It's just like.
And it also turns into ASMR.
ASMR for some reason. Thank you for listening.
Today Hey, on NPR.
You're right. It's the NPR voice. That's what we broke it down. That's what it was.
But yeah, I think absurdism in comedy.
Eric Andre.
Oh, boom! There we go. Okay, so.
It really comes down.
I fell in love with him because
right.
Not that I've ever.
I wanted to bridge the gap to where we just Eric Andre.
Eric Andre.
And because we were talking about music, and then we got on absurdism a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just all these different types of comedy is really what it comes down to, and absurdism. It kind of started out with like just Adult Swim being like a thing in the first place.
Yeah.
And then the Eric Andre show slapped that on there. He started doing stand-up, but I think he only has like... I've watched his stand-up before he did release this Netflix one, and it's almost the same thing. Like, I don't know if he necessarily is like a stand-up.
Bits. It's more of like, let's develop fucking absurd skits and like moments we can create in his show. Yeah, right. Which he does. And I think, actually, now that you mention Eric Andre and absurdism, I'm kind of also... leaning in the direction of Bobby Lee. Do you know who Bobby Lee is? He was on, not SNL. He was on Mad TV for a minute there.
Yeah, Mad TV was big. It's weirdly, Mad TV will pop up randomly, and you're like, that was a big thing at some point.
Yeah, it exploded for a moment, and then, it had its ups and downs throughout the... Yeah,
but it's definitely going to get lost in history, personally. Yeah. It's one of those things
It is going to get
lost.
lost.
SNL is going to, be big for a while, and people are going to remember it. Unfortunately, Mad TV had some great stuff.
And I didn't even, I've never even seen more than, a few choice, Mad TV sketches and skits and stuff, but... Bobby Lee, so he has another podcast called Tiger Belly that I've been watching for a while now that he hosts with his girlfriend. They have a little mini studio. And he's kind of in the same... He has guest after guest on asking, hey, where's the special? Bobby, Bobby, where's the special, Bobby? And he's like, I don't feel like... He's like, I'd rather just my comedy be free form and be what it is and me, make it in certain projects that I'm passionate in and it be spontaneous. He's like, to me, he's like, I'm just not really a writing guy. I'm not really he's like, I don't do well with structure and shit. He's like, I don't feel like it, but he's like, when I feel like it, I'll do something. But he is so off the cuff, absurd and out there and funny in his own regard that his content I really, really enjoy without it needing to fit within a a packaged hour. Yeah. So I really enjoy Eric Andre in that same way of even if those that police brutality bit he has is 15 years old.
Yeah, that's
15,
that's
cops. Excuse me. Yeah.
No,
the cops show.
Yeah. And the essence of it is cops is why would they start the show Cops about police brutality with reggae music, the most peaceful under the sea. Coconut, the coconut. Jamaica man, the coconut is our national currency.
Oh, it's so funny too because I remember growing up watching Cops, the most red, white, blue, baby,
Rocket Lounge.
With my brother growing up, drag racing, being in a motorhome. I grew up in a motorhome 3 to 4 days out of the week. That's where we were. And so you turn on, shitty cable TV and Cops was always there. And it was fun to hear that, what you gonna do? It's fun. It's it feels light. And then you go in and you're like, what's this crazy crackhead up to or some shit? And it's, you don't even realize kind of how dark some of those moments are when you're watching it as a 7-year-old or some shit.
Yeah.
And then looking back, it's wow. it's just an interesting contrast to maybe the perspective we take today on that stuff. So
definitely. But absurdist humor is honestly, I think it's what really, I think it was one of my earliest attractions to comedy personally. Yeah. In high school, I was really big.
I don't think it was mine, and I think I've just now really taken it.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean that's what, we can connect on. Even though I was into Eric Andre, I was into Eric Andre before you. Yeah. but no, it's just a great connecting factor because we could be able to talk about that, for ages. And but the thing about absurdist humor is that I think it really breaks down comedy to its the core, because the core of comedy is setting up a punchline and then or setting up a
pacing
premise.
Needs to be right.
Setting up a premise,
yeah.
and then having a punchline. And the punchline is something that you shouldn't be able to expect. You know, it should be like catch you off guard and make you laugh. And that's really what a joke is. It's something to set this up and twist your idea of it. You know. And, And so absurdist. So I mean, there's the structure there, but absurdist is really like, oh, here's like Eric Andre. Here's a talk show, and it's not a talk show at all. It's just the opposite.
Here's the comfortable setting, and then here's complete chaos.
Chaos.
It just destroys what you would think that premise is going to be.
Right, and it sounds like Bobby Lee is almost pretty similar to that.
Absolutely.
For sure.
He'll get on and he'll just his podcast. It's just you kind of know okay, he's going to start every podcast with some sort of song. We don't know what, but he'll just, I was a little island boy. and he'll just, and everyone just lets him do his thing, and he'll be like, all right, roll it. And then they roll the, the intro, which he produced, which is so cute. And then they just get right into it, and he'll be like, he'll say just the most random thing. It could be something personal to his life. It could be something, I guess, not really news, because he doesn't really touch on anything in the outside world. It's fun because it is escapism in the sense that it's it is whatever you feel like it being that day. And I really find lately, I don't know, on my dance team and stuff, I've always had trouble expressing my ideas because they feel very non-structured, they feel very spontaneous, and I think sometimes I have a hard time. And that's just how
some people think too.
Yeah, it's just I think sometimes I do have a hard time putting into words some of my pop-up ideas, but it's fun to hear someone who can just play, and that's what I've kind of fallen into. I really like playing, and I'll say stuff to my roommates sometimes, and I'll just amp it up, especially if I'm drunk or high, you know the vibes.
Yeah.
It's fun to just be able to play and live in an imaginary space where what is making sense anyway, because it's taking a twist on what the anticipated or the usual is, and trying to catch someone off guard. I really like that absurdism, shock value humor, and that's something I grew up being sheltered away from. So now that I'm slowly starting to discover on my own, it's been very fun. It's a playground.
Yeah, it's just something new, a new type of humor for you.
And it's something I know, it's it's fun, and I know if I ever presented it to any of my family members, it's it'd be really hard to grasp. That's the thing, is absurdism. I mean, there's always been some type of absurdism in the world and comedy, but I think the new type of absurdism with the internet age and the era of okay, how weird can we actually get? You know, it's very, very new and scary for a lot. It's a frontier that's unchecked yet. And it's just Yeah,
I actually have a bit about the internet being such a scary place, because you can find, you can go on there and find anything from just wearing bread, and you're what is it, to just dicks being smashed with a hammer.
Oh my god.
Just the worst of the worst. And I mean that in the context of the joke, it's funnier than I swear it's funnier, but but it's in reality, it's how absurd could I have made that? You know, it's what actually is there on the internet? Is
what can exist in this space? And virtually limitless.
There's
to a degree.
Rule 34.
What's that?
Rule 34 is it's an internet rule that the internet has created that states that if it exists, there is porn of it.
Oh.
Yeah, so if it exists, there's porn. So pillow, I just looked at around the room. There's pillow. There's pillow porn.
I was thinking Elsa and Anna.
Elsa and Anna. Oh, well, come on. That's what do you? Yeah,
we got. Talking about? That's. I mean.
Yeah.
Been around, you know.
Been around.
Can you recite the 1 through 33 rules?
1 through 30. I have no idea.
Just kidding.
But yeah, that's so. I think the idea of absurdism is weirdly changing, and I think I want to get into that a little bit.
That's nice too. It almost feels like it's fun because you can't pinpoint it. There's never a button that you can just press your thumb down on of this is what absurdism is.
Yeah.
It is whatever fucking whoever is deciding to open their mouth and telling jokes decides it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're right.
Which
yeah.
I like.
Yeah, and it's just the idea of that random.
Yeah.
Like I said, it really is stand-up or comedy down to its core. Is changing the unexpected. So it's where you draw the line at whatever unexpected is. And again, if we can keep changing that as a changing human race, is like the idea of unexpected is just going to continue to grow and grow.
That's true.
Which is
especially as we make new problems for ourselves and things like that. I mean, we are progressing, but also it's like there's always going to be a new form of something to comment on, make fun of, or whatever. And I do really like the idea of like trying to convince a crowd of some sort or an audience of people to get on board with something, even if it's for the light of that moment. Like, but we can all agree on this. Am I right? And I've never taken a stance that Marriott hotels should be shut down, but sure, like,
but
you know what I mean?
Let's start it. Let's start it out like that. Yeah. Or something, like I said, I mean, the idea of unexpected. What if next year is a pandemic? You know what I mean? Like, just what if,
Just what if.
That's the premise, and then here we are.
Frogs have...
they did surgery on
macro dicks. Yeah, they did surgery on a
They did surgery on a grape.
Which we do. Actually, that's fact. So.
That's fact, yeah. And frogs have macro dicks? I'm with it.
Macro dicks. Look out, 2021.
Jesus. Where is it? Anyways, so the idea of the comedy industry is really interesting to me because I don't know how I got there, but I'm just going to say that's just please, where we're starting, So, George Carlin and them, that was kind of the big explosion of it, right? And from there on, I think that's, like, Eddie Murphy, all them, that the comedy scene really blew up, and there were albums being sold that would make more money and get more hits than even musical albums, you know what I mean? Yeah. They would sell out Madison Square Garden, which is typically a, musical concert type of place, and there are comedians that have done that. George Carlin did that. Weirdly, Dane Cook has done that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was a weird blip in comedy. Yeah, he just shot up and then immediately came back down.
I forget what his controversy was, but it was something. But
and so what happened was through the industry changing, it was okay. You can do a career in stand up, but you have to have really good jokes. You have to, or you have to have good philosophical content, crazy characters like Robin Williams, and really commit to the characters. Yeah. And then
Jim Carrey,
exactly, and. But it really progressed to this point where now there's such a big audience for stand-up, whereas before it was kind of a niche thing, and it still is kind of a niche thing, but it's come to the point where everybody has access to it. So if you want to get into that industry, it's even more competitive than it was when people were making millions. We're selling out Madison Square Garden.
And not only that, I think like with the internet also now, allowing comedy to coexist with it, you have more eyes on you as you come up kind of thing. Oh, yeah. So I think it's harder to convince people of like, no, I'll get there because you need 10 years to get there. That's what every big comedian stands by is like, go bomb for 10 years and then we'll talk.
Yeah, exactly. And so, it's Dave Chapelle started when he was like 12 or like 14 or something.
Insane.
I know Seth Rogen started when he was that young. It's like to be able to get to a point where you are of any status at all, you have to have some years on it. Yeah. So, but the point I was trying to get to is now it's so hard. It's like you have to have a thing. You have like Bo Burnham. He really took advantage of. He was personally one of the first comedians that I got into.
He's great,
and he really took advantage of that changing world ideology and the attention span of the internet. And he made these short videos on YouTube. And again, music. He included the music in it because he knew
his most popular set. It is so you're right. Like it just jerks you back and forth. Like it's so unexpected. It does like keep
he's awkward but confident at the same time. Awkwardly confident.
Yeah, it feels new. It feels like all the nerds like gone and run off, and like you're finally like seeing what goes on in someone's head like that or something.
Right.
Yeah. He builds this world, but it changes. It's ever changing so quickly that it exists well on like an internet space where it's like your attention span's so short or something, or you want something quick. He's good with like that quick delivery, which is cool.
Yeah, and just very witty, and he studied Shakespeare and whatnot, and just a cool guy all the time. I nerded out on Bo Burnham, which is weird because I don't even like watch any of his stuff anymore. Really, like
I haven't either.
I haven't gone back and watched anything he's done. Like the last thing I think I saw was 8th Grade, and that was after he quit his comedy career and went into directing. And
I didn't even know he went into directing.
Yeah, he directed 8th Grade, and it was critically acclaimed.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God.
Yeah.
God,
yeah.
where have I been? I haven't seen it, but I've definitely heard of it, and I heard it was beautiful. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, and that's the thing is, it was so influential to me, and then I took that and snowballed it into this love for stand-up comedy, and that's when personally I started doing stand-up before I even understood the idea of like industries or anything. I started when I was a freshman in college. I just did like one set at this Donkey Cafe place where they were doing like an open mic night.
Did you go bananas?
I did, but that was later.
Yeah,
that was
right.
winter, actually. So, because I went and did freshman year and did at this, it was an open mic, and I went in there, and it was weird because it was a room full of people watching the stage, and the first one I went in and sat down and listened to, it was like a poem about a girl and her experiences getting traumatized in very, very gruesome.
You're in Athens, right?
Language, yes,
for sure.
Terminology for sure, and it was very heavy, and it was a snapper. It was people were snapping.
That's
after
a snapper, right?
And I was like, oh, this is not where I need to do this.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. So did you decide, or
so I was about to leave, but I didn't want to like come in and leave like immediately once I saw what it was. So I stayed. Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah, exactly. So I stayed for like two more acts. Yeah, exactly. And then they were like, all right, who wants to go up next? And nobody like said anything. And this girl was like, she went up and she was like, well, I don't really have anything written down, but I could tell like a funny story or something. And I was like,
ooh. We doing that?
Yeah, and she went up there and told some like band stories, and I was like, band stories, okay. And then I went up after that and told like some juvie stories. And,
okay.
Yeah, and did a little bit, and it felt really good because they were not expecting my type of
You walk up and you're like, this kid fucking yeah.
Yeah, and I never told him what I went to juvie for either. I was just like, so I went to juvie, and at the end, I was like, all right, thank you. Like, it was kind of awkward because it wasn't even like a 5-minute set. I just went up there and talked.
I just have to, let me say something real quick.
Yeah, and they were like, well, what did you go to juvie for? I'm like, well, not important, and just kind of like,
No, that's good. That's a good way to leave it because there is a shock value in like. Suspected bomb threat, but
it wasn't,
or like
right.
suspected
and especially
gun
in that
or...
environment of the snappers, and that would have not.
No, it's way more fun to just be like, I don't know, you figure it out.
Yeah,
because it's and also something I've been very like hardline on recently is it's never the artist's job to like explain their art. Yeah. So just take it for what it is.
Take it for what it is. And if they try to explain it, it takes away from the value of it.
Absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely, because that leaves less room for any liberty in what you take from it or what it means to the person that is perceiving it. So I think that's a really fun way to like leave. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. You figure it out.
Yeah. Does it matter? I went.
I talked. Anyways.
Yeah.
But so then I did the Go Bananas, and that was technically my first real set. Yeah. And that was
How
weird.
Long did you do?
I bombed. It was so bad. Of course. It was 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
And you have to get like friends to come see you because.
So you can get some sort of support.
Well, no, they make you at Go Bananas. They're like, oh, if you want to do stand up here, you have to get 5 people to come because they make you pay a cover charge. They don't want people just taking up their time, which I think is personally kind of stupid. But I mean, maybe just do it once. But they wanted me to do it every time, so I only did Go Bananas one time. Again, I bombed. Luckily, I had the people that came were like close friends, and it was just. But the thing about bombing is that's what you learn. That's really.
Well, I was about to say, like, how did you feel about bombing? Like, I mean,
it was like
I heard it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, it's not great. That time is kind of distant in my memory. Yeah. But I started doing stand up like frequently last summer. Okay. And I did it like 5 or 6 times down at just this one place, and there were times like I started out there, I had friends, it was laughing, it was good, and the second time it wasn't as good, but it wasn't like I bombed. Yeah. But then the third time I like invited 2 people too that aren't really into stand up, and they came, and like you could tell even before I went up, the crowd was just like everybody was bombing because it really depends on the crowd, and it's a crowd full of comedians who have half of them go there every week, so it's like you're seeing the same acts. They're not really
impressed with what, like,
and they're expecting, like, what are we getting?
This guy.
Like, there was literally a girl there who, she had won a contest and was flying out to New York the next week to do, like, Laugh Factory type stuff. Shit. Yeah, and she, like, was, like, top, and she bombed, because it was just it was such an awkward
and it is
experience.
Crazy. You do there's a relationship. You have to, I mean, you feed off of the audience.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, that's what, I mean, if you go into a place of people not, like, I mean, even the vaudeville, people aren't expecting, they're expecting to see a show, but they're not really expecting to laugh, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, catching people off guard is, again, it's that unexpectedness of, like, oh, this person's funny, you know?
Yeah.
Or I think Chris D'Elia has that bit about going to, like, a laundromat where people are, like...
Yeah, facing away from him.
Facing away from him, and he has to make them laugh.
Yeah.
So it's, like, that's a different type of bad crowd, you know? There's just so many things to figure out when you go out there. And so bombing, as an experience, was, like, okay, it was such a big one. And I've only really bombed those 2 times, because I haven't really even done stand-up that much. But it really makes you, especially if you record your set a little bit and kind of go back and view what was wrong with it and why it didn't work, is, I mean, the thing that I learned from that one was, like, I can't tell a story, I can't tell a whole story, a whole 5-minute story, you know, because if that story at the beginning, if they're not on with the premise,
and they're checked out now.
They're checked out immediately, so I can't keep doing the rest of the bit, like, or continue on for 5 minutes just talking about the thing that they already thought was
they don't want
to hear.
That's
exactly.
So interesting, yeah.
So that's at that point is when I started. I was okay. I need to have, like, go-to one-liners, because if this bit doesn't work, I need to go to this one-liner.
Yeah, you jump.
And then start a different bit or something.
Have some other things, like try and adjust, ready for whatever kind of crowd maybe you're handling.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's always interesting to me everyone's methods for, like, I mean, like Joe Rogan has his own, like, sworn by, you know. Like, you record and you write, and you have to write everything down, and you record and blah, blah, blah. And then there's other comedians who, they're like, I don't know, I just say shit. Like, I mean, I obviously have my bits that are, like, at this point, developed enough to where, like, the pacing works, and I, you know, vary it up at times and see what works different places, but, you know, otherwise, like, or I work my new shit out for this long, or whatever, and it's always interesting to me to see the approach that everyone takes, because I do think it's different for everybody, and I think even the crowd that you're, like, you have to adjust to the crowd to some degree, or the venue, like you mentioned.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, the closest feeling I've ever had to bombing is, we had a real, it's so stupid, we were in Iowa City, Iowa. First of all, I will not go back. Fuck that place.
Well, yeah.
Iowa City, Iowa was so bumfuck nowhere. Now listen, I love quaint places. I like quiet places. I like big open fields.
Yeah.
But fuck Iowa City.
On the record.
On the record, fuck Iowa City.
Wow, okay.
So, no. But I mean, God. I'm, like, about to, like, then mention the team I went with. I'm like, oh, can't say that. So,
yeah.
My dance team
and
I
just get
went...
hate emails from all the ayahuascans. Is that the right
ayahuascans.
Term? Yeah.
Dude, I'll get on board with that.
The Washington ayahuascans.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Washington ayahuascans Redskins. So my team went there. It was a normal competition weekend. This is in March of this year, and I think the night before your competition, they do some process where you figure out your show order for the next day. So up until Friday evening, you don't know when, 1 out of 8 acts, you don't know where you'll fall. And I think we fell if we were like number 1 or number 2 to perform. Typically, the audience isn't warmed up by that time, so you get more cheers the later in the show you go, so you look forward to that. We're like, it's all good. We feel clean. We feel ready to perform. No worries. We went out there. And one of the issues was that they had none of the teams that typically watch you perform, and they just rotate you out from the auditorium to the backstage area.
Yeah.
None of the teams were in there yet just because of the scheduling, and none of the people who were in there were cheering at all. So we are putting on and we're used to, like, oh, we land a stunt. Oh, woo! Yeah, like, okay. You get some sort of feedback, and we got nothing. And everyone picks up your props at the end of your set or whatever, and you've got like 30 seconds to get off. And I was in such a bad mood that I yelled, "Fuck you," to the audience.
Really?
In the corner, yeah, as I got off stage. I was like, fuck you! And I
Jeez,
went backstage, and no one heard me. There's still, like, bass going on. No one can hear me.
Oh,
That's why I yelled it, because no one could hear me. I was so mad.
Yeah.
And I went backstage, and there's, like, another team lining up, getting ready to go. And I was like, that's the worst set I've ever experienced. That's the worst audience I've been in front of. And to every team member of any other team I saw, I was like, dead audience yell on stage to each other and all this and that. I was like, dead audience, because it will affect your performance to a degree. You'll lose faith in yourself. No confidence. You don't have as much energy.
Not at all.
It's funny to me because then I put my little baby ass in, like, the shoes of comedians who have to bomb. And I'm like, imagine yelling, fuck you, Bill Burr.
No. Imagine if there's not music playing. Like you said, the bass. And then somebody's just like, boo.
Yeah. That's got it. So, I mean.
The Bill Burr, that is worth a mention.
So funny.
It's the iconic bombing of 20-minute bomb.
Yeah.
He's up there for 20 minutes just talking. In Philadelphia.
Yes.
Talking shit about Philadelphia.
Yes. And then he's like, you guys fucking suck. Like,
and they're at the beginning they're like not with it because he was just shit talking the city, and they were like get off the stage or whatever. Yeah. He's like, I got 15 more minutes, and he's like counting down each minute, and then by the end the audience is like laughing because he's just going so ham.
He's gonna take his last few minutes left, and make something out of them.
And so that's something that I'm looking forward to learning a little bit about with, like, if I doing more stand-up, the more bombings I'm gonna have, and dealing with bombing is something, like, going out in style at least, you know.
There's gotta be a separation of, like, you can't take it too personally, or you're gonna hurt yourself. You'll hurt your heart. Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I have too much of a connection to, like, my self-esteem still with that shit of, like, the art you put out and then that reflection of, like, how people think of you as a person. It's like there's not a direct line. That's not the direct correlation. You can bomb and people obviously don't have anything against you. They're just like, that joke fucking sucked. You're off stage. So it's I admire the tough skin, basically, is what it comes down to. And I've tried to take more notes from that.
For sure. Idea. And I mean, you've developed enough tough skin. I mean, have you seen your hands?
Period.
I'm sorry.
Roast me, sis.
I'm sorry.
For anyone who does not know, I have now feel my, like, forearm though. Feel my actual skin.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty soft, right?
No, for sure.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah,
but I have notoriously Appalachian 40-year-old man blacksmith hands, and I don't know why.
Yeah, and I honestly think it's an attribute, if you want to, like, it's something, it's a positive, it's a pro to Maddie Smith.
You want to know the nicest thing someone has ever said to me about my hands?
What?
It's a diss, but it's also not. My friend, I won't say her name, but my friend that I was tripping on shrooms with, she, like, took my hand and she said, I want you, she said, we were both, like, peeking at this point. She was like, I want you to know you should not feel bad about your hands because every person that I have truly trusted in my life has had very earthy, worn out hands. And when I met you, I took note of that, and it has come true. And I was like, I'm, like, crying, and I'm like, that's a beautiful thing to say to someone. And now I'm like, I'm proud of my earthy ass hands.
Yeah, it's a sign of your integrity.
Maturity.
I know we said we were going to get into some other stuff, but it's gone on for kind of a while, and I think that's a whole different topic.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. We could. So this is...
Yeah, but I wanted to leave with some of these one-liners that I had written out recently for my stand-ups that you can't do. We're not going to be able to do until fall.
Yeah. Which
I'm very, very pissed about.
I know.
But yeah, so I don't know which order to read them in necessarily. This is a really dumb one, but I just like it personally for myself.
A dumb one?
Oh, it's so bad. It's not funny.
I'll probably enjoy it the most.
Yeah, it's, it's like I'm not a big fan of life. I just really don't, I don't know. I don't see myself living that long. I personally think it would be cool to join the 27s club.
Yes.
Maybe around 28 or 29. That's the whole joke. Maybe around 28 or 29.
No. I think 27's good. It's iconic,
Yeah.
You might. I mean, if you're gonna go at 28, might as well do 27. You feel me?
Yeah.
What's gonna happen? That's so much better
in a year.
Not gonna lie, I do carry a white lighter on me.
In
case I,
That's dangerous.
I don't know.
I don't know.
feel
Just
Amy
in case.
with me. Just in case, and they'll be like, wow, it's fine. Because I'm ready, dude. Take me out,
Maddie. I wanna use condoms to make people slip, like banana peels.
To make okay, like banana peels.
Just throw it on the ground, whoop, or just like in a Mario.
If you do it,
Kart.
you just they need to be used, very used, maybe
ew,
double used.
Ooh,
you ever reused condoms? No, am I right?
I mean, it would be better
in that way.
Yeah. We have to reuse them. Okay. I can't wait to chastise my kids for not finishing their foods. Like, I mean, you should appreciate this meal. There are less fortunate people all around the world. Mm-hmm. There are people starving in my basement. Yeah.
At first, I thought you were going to start that off with, I'm going to scold my children for not finishing.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's a good one. I'll add that in there for sure. All right. And then this is the last one. When I was young, people would always say, I look like my dad. I have a lot of my dad in me. And I always think, 6 inches isn't that much.
I knew where it was going.
Yeah.
You know what? You can definitely bond with those types of jokes with Brennan Pinkerton, because at the end of the day...
BP.
BP's got his mom's hips and his dad's ass. And that is something that they stand by.
Wow.
And if you've seen the Colonel Pinkerton, he do be having an ass.
He do be having it. Hey, BP, if you're listening... Got a thick one, brother.
Keep it cheeked up. Keep it cheeked up.
Hell yeah. I'm going to play, if he comes on here, I'm going to play this clip to him on air.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
live. Just get that reaction. I like it.
For sure. All right, Maddie. I appreciate you coming out.
This has been wonderful.
Yeah, shouts out. I'm glad, it seems like you're doing well for yourself.
What's nice is, I have I've stopped white knuckling on things that don't matter, because so little matters actually sometimes that I focus in on. So this has been a good forget everything let's rebuild, let's focus on human connection and shit, because that's what matters.
And that's why we're out here. So.
And that's why we out here articulating.
Articulate. All right, thanks so much.
So now, after that episode, I just contacted Brennan Pinkerton, and he's coming on, and I'm actually going to play that clip for him next week. It's going to be so good. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. Unfortunately, I don't have the public speech about pencils here, so I can't read that to you. If I find it, I'll post it separately or something and figure it out, because it is kind of funny, but I don't know. But I hope you enjoyed it, because Maddie she is great, and check her out. If she does start a podcast, I'll let you know. She's in the dance team, so if you're into that, I'm sure she's got some things you could talk to her about. So thanks for listening. Appreciate it. Thank you. I love you. Amen. Okay, bye.